How we doing, everybody? Hope you are keeping well and getting set for Christmas. Got a cracking episode coming up with Paul from Gamtalk. Really good in depth about the company, why it was kind of formed, the kind of support network that it provides to young adults, and some info in there as well about supporting Gamtalk if that's something you're wanting to do. Big thanks as always to Paul at Let Me Repair for the sponsorship. Let me know what you think of the episode in the comments and hit the subscribe button. Cheers, guys. Paul, how you doing, mate?
How you doing, mate? I'm good, aye.
I've been buzzing to get you on. I'm not going to lie, this man will testify to this. Reason being, I've also been, I follow you on Instagram, watching what you're doing. I'm starting to do stuff in schools and that myself, so I think it's brilliant what you're doing. But for anybody who isn't aware of it and maybe doesn't follow you online, tell us about what Gamtalk is, why you've started it, and what the kind of what you're hoping to get out of it.
Aye, so Gamtalk, I go into schools and football clubs and give presentations about the dangers of a gambling addiction. Presentations probably sounds a bit too fancy, to be honest. I just go in and I give my story, and hopefully that young people can prevent against that ever becoming part of their life. When I was 18 until kind of just before I turned 22, I was badly addicted to gambling. And even through a course of like that kind of journey itself, I was always thinking to myself, how have I been through school? How have I been through so many football clubs? And nobody's ever even as much as said, yeah, you need to be careful with gambling, by the way. Nothing. And honestly, when I was struggling, I had this idea in my head to go into schools, to go in and speak, and it just seemed so far away and your brain's working against you at that point. But when I started to get a bit better, it was still, the idea was there, and a lot of people actually think that I just, one day last year decided to put up a post and then that was it. It'd been planned for years. When I was 21, and that was when I first started to try get everything under control. Me and my dad had sat in my dining room for days on end, and with these old laptop out, sitting writing down notes, how many schools were in Scotland, going over what my presentation would be, things like that. So I was working on Gamtalk, and really it was part of my kind of recovery in general. I don't know if I don't know if my dad ever really believed that I was going to do it, but I know that he just sat here with me because I wasn't gambling, and it was a bit of focus into something else. But I knew in my head I would do it. It just took years to kind of get myself better, and then I actually did try launch it, and what was that? Well, 4 years ago now. I got a meeting with head education in my school, in my council, sorry. And I turned up, shirt and tie and that on, and he didn't show up. And his like assistant said, come back next week, and you've got him on the phone, he forgot. So a wee bit of identity confidence, but I thought it might even work in my favour, like he'll maybe kind of give me a benefit of doubt next week. And the whole meeting was about less than 10 minutes. I didn't even get a presentation. It was just, listen, it's kind of no for us. We do in-house stuff, and we would never be able to pay for this. That was it. And I went home dejected, man.
Did they say why? Was it just kind of no for them? Or?
I think basically they get kind of asked to take the meeting from somebody higher up than them, and that was it. But I went in and I was dejected, man, and that was it for years. But whenever I started uni, whenever I started different jobs, I always had it in my head. It was just, you know what it's like? It's having that belief to go and start something. So I was working in Tesco during the pandemic last year, and it was getting to that point, it was getting comfortable. Like I was earning a decent enough wage. I liked kind of shifts and the people I was working with, and that was probably what scared me more than anything. Because I thought I could see myself doing this and going back to uni, and I knew that wasn't what I wanted long term. So when I decided to actually launch, I messaged a boy who worked for Youth Football Scotland. Bearing in mind at this point, right, I'd sent emails to every football club in the country, just over 100 schools, just MPs everywhere, and nobody get back to me, zero. So I was like, how am I going to?
Nice, that's the confidence right there,
you know what I mean? But Youth Football Scotland, they gave me a wee kind of interview, and they said, look, we'll put it on my social pages and see if you get any boys clubs from it and start from there. So I did this. I went to East Kilbride, met a boy Ewan. He was 17 in college and just doing this for a wee bit of kind of, what would you call it, work experience. he did the interview and he said, right, look, it'll be ready next week.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a Thursday. And I was like, right, that gives me a week to kind of start telling people this is what I'm doing and drip feed it out. Because bearing in mind, I mean, it wasn't like I was starting a food business or anything like that. I was starting a business based on my biggest flaws and my biggest secrets of my life. That if you weren't in my immediate circle, nobody knew. So I was waiting until next week, and then I was driving home from, I was passenger in the car coming home from Nando's on a Saturday night, and he messaged me, he's like, Paul, that's it, ready, we've put it up on the pages. I could have jumped out of the car, man.
Really? Just because it was finally out there?
And I typed out a message saying, listen, can you just delete it? Blah, blah, blah. And I messaged him, I said, can you just delete it? And then I don't know what it was. Honestly, I don't even mind thinking. I sent him back, I said, never mind, just keep it up. So I just went on, made a quick Instagram new account, Gamtalk, and I take their video, put it on my personal page, and said, here, this is it. This is me, and this is what I'm going to be doing. And I just locked my phone until the next morning. Couldn't look, felt sick. And I woke up in the morning, man, and messages and comments and everything. I was like, oh, wow, it was amazing.
All supportive stuff.
Everything. And it just gave me that belief to kind of, right, get going. So,
That must have been massive as well. Because if you said it's only that kind of circle that really knows, and you've put it out there, was that your kind of biggest fear of everybody's going to kind of be aware of what I've been through and what I'm trying to do, and I don't know what the reaction's going to be like? And
I knew that I couldn't start Gamtalk without telling people why I was starting, essentially. It was a big fear, it's a big deal, you're letting people know that. I mean, the word addict ain't anything anybody likes, and I had to tell people that's what I was. But after a couple of weeks, I actually felt like amazing. I felt like, although I felt a lot better when my pals and my family knew, see, just that the world knew, and I didn't need to hide anything anymore. I felt about 10 stone lighter. I'll not lie, the first couple of days after it were tough, like getting up to try go to a gym. I would get ready to go to a gym, then I would take all my clothes back off and I would just stay in, because I thought, that's that out there. I got to a point, I was like, do you know what, if you're really going to be serious about this, then you need to go out and face the world. And people were stopping me in the street and that, genuinely, and like in the gym and stuff as well. Well done.
Love that.
It was amazing, man. Honestly, I've never got any real kind of negatives with Gamtalk. I can't lie, it's been 99% positive.
And then for there, did you start to get more interest for the schools now, or did it go the kind of football club first and then kind of?
Oh no, it went downhill, man.
Did it?
I mean, I was putting up videos like just me talking about my story, and they were getting kind of well received, but I had put out in my first post, I'm going into football clubs and schools all over the country, that's what I'm doing. And it's difficult to do that, they don't let anybody in. And I started a business that the aim was to go into schools, football clubs and youth groups all over the country, and I started at a time where every one of them were shut. So, I mean, timing I think is important in business, and I couldn't have picked a worse man to do it. And I always remember, I was lying in my bed and I had a wee kind of yellow notebook, and then I had my diary. About 10 o'clock at night, and I looked at my diary and I'm scrolling pages, and if you look now, thankfully enough, like in March, there's always something in it. At that time, I had nothing in the diary. Checked my emails, I had nothing, and I thought, this is stumbling towards death here. And I always keep my stuff beside my bed, and I woke up at night and I had the idea to sleep on the streets, and that just changed everything. And I wrote it down, and I thought, I'm going to sleep in the streets next week and going to raise money for charity, tell more about my story. I knew that gambling was a problem, but I think I had to create the awareness first, generate interest, and then go and get to schools and that. And I did it. I told my dad the next day in the shop, and he said, you're not going to sleep in the streets, that's a fact. He's like, don't even tell your mum, she'll go off on that. I told my mum, Jesus Christ, did she go off on that? So I'll never talk to you again if you do it, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to sleep in the streets, I'll not be able to. And I was like, look, I'm doing it. I just had a gut feeling, I just knew that it would work. And thankfully I went, I did it, raised a lot of money for charity as well, got my story out there, and I came back and the BBC and STV had picked up on it, which was good. But the main thing was get my first school. So Graham Lamb, he is a deputy head in Wood Farm High School. They got in touch and said, we'd love to have you in. And that was it. Kind of from there, it just snowballed.
Love that. How was the experience sleeping out in the streets?
Oh, I don't think I've really properly, to be honest, ever like described it. I hate sounding like I'm complaining or anything,
Aye.
but it was rough, man.
Aye.
It was terrifying, to be honest.
Many days did you do it?
5 nights.
5 nights. Because I
5
remember
nights.
watching some of your stories and you were struggling
Aye.
at points with it.
It was, I think by like kind of a Wednesday morning when you hadn't slept,
Aye.
when you, sometimes you say to people now, like, oh, I didn't really sleep last night, you probably get 5-6 hours.
Aye.
You don't, I mean, the first night I didn't sleep, I was like nearly hallucinating. I was in a McDonald's on a Tuesday morning, started on a Monday, and I went on a Tuesday morning, I was in McDonald's and put my head down. Every time my eyes were shut, every time I blinked, I fell asleep. Woman coming up moving me, you can't fall asleep in here, man, and it was rough. But it also was a good experience to an extent where you really do realise what you take for granted.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? And
Aye.
I never like complaining, because at the end of the day, I was doing this for like a project, and I knew on Friday night,
Aye.
but Saturday morning I'm going home. Whereas there's people I'm talking to in these streets and they don't know when they're going. They don't know when they're going to have a roof over their head. So you do need to kind of appreciate what you've got.
Aye.
It was rough.
And did you meet people that were kind of living rough as well and get some of their kind of stories as to how they've ended up in that situation?
I mean, the one that always sticks with me was actually a guy who I looked at twice sitting on the street, and I don't mean this in a patronising way, but you can normally tell somebody sitting beside the street, something's going on. This guy just looked normal, and I was wondering, he was sitting outside the kind of JD. I went up and spoke to him, and he was living in Aberdeen. He was a chef in Aberdeen, and he came down here and started staying with his girlfriend. So his mum died. And then he lost his job in Aberdeen as a chef because they shut down during the pandemic.
Aye.
And because he couldn't pay anything, his girlfriend kicked him out and finished with him.
Right.
His mum was all he had, no brothers, sisters, no cousins and that. And he's like, I've not got a problem. I'm not an addict. I'm just on the street because I've only got enough money to rent. I've not got enough money for a deposit. And he was stuck in that cycle, and the money just dwindled, his savings dwindled, and he's like, now I'm fucking on the street. A guy always sticks with me, because I thought, we're all guilty for it. You walk by somebody and you see them on the street and you think you know why they're there, but a lot of the time you probably don't.
And that's terrifying as well, that just that kind of chain of events, it could happen to a lot of people with relationships and all that, then leads to...
Your life can turn upside down just so quickly, man. So quickly.
It's mental. You got massive amounts of support through it as well. I kept seeing kind of loads of different people. I think you like bumped into Cy Ferry when you were doing it as well, and that must have been good for you. I know that people were starting to kind of notice Gamtalk and what you were trying to put out there.
Yeah, so that was his second, so I've did it 2 years now, I just did it here, but Cy Ferry I seen the second year, and he was walking down and just I think he kind of half noticed, and then I just said to him how I was, and he's like, oh, how you doing and all that, but he was great, man. He's like offered to get me food and all that, do you know what I mean? Pure nice guy. But no, everybody was amazing, man. I had random people in Glasgow. I was on a bench one time and I was just lying down taking a video. I was shattered in George Square, and this lassie came through on Instagram. She's like, listen, I stay around the corner, do you want me to bring you down something to eat, or do you need a jumper or anything like that? And I was like, no, I'm alright. But you know, you get things like that, and I thought, how did she even see it? Do you know what I mean? But it shows a lot of kind of different people were watching it.
How was your man Da through it?
I'm always phoning as it got. I mean, for Monday, it was every probably 6 hours, and then by Friday, it was on a 45-minute basis. How you doing? You sure you don't want us to just come up? My mum's like, listen, I'll send you money. Just go stay in a hotel. Nobody will know that. I'm like, right, that's what I'll do. I'll get caught sneaking out the Premier Inn in the morning. It was tempting, right enough. But they were. My dad was acting as if he was alright. He'd have probably been a bit worried, but my mum was a nightmare.
Oh, imagine getting caught last night in a Premier Inn. That'd be horrendous.
It was close, by the way. It was close.
And then obviously you get your opportunity to go into the schools. How's the nerves at that point? Because obviously it's then suddenly real, and you're going into these places. How were you kind of prepping for it?
I prepared as best I could. I mean, weeks before it, I was just every day going over my presentation. I was doing different, doing it with my eyes shut, doing it facing the mirror, doing it not facing the mirror. But it's nothing like when you go in and you've got like 200 young people just
Aye.
staring at you, you know, waiting for a mistake or something
Aye.
to jump on you. And I was one of them in school, man.
Aye.
You said the word wrong and I was on you. So I knew that I had to, but do you know what? It was a good buzz, and I've always said that. As much as it is nerve-wracking, I compare it to football as well. Like before the game starts, I'm nervous, but it's a good nerve. I want to be there. And I think I've got better at it well, I definitely have got better at it as I went on. My first one probably wasn't great if I reflect back on it, even though it got good reviews. Whereas I compare the work that I did today, and I thought, it's come on leaps and bounds.
Aye. And do you get a lot of interaction from kids? Because I'm just thinking, like, times when I went in and I was that wee guy as well, and you sit at the back and you're like, I'm saying nothing this whole thing. But do you get a lot of kids asking you stuff and that, or does it just kind of depend sometimes? You
do. You need to be relatable. That's the thing. Like, I remember, as I was saying when I was like 21, my presentation, if you looked at it in, was off facts, statistics, trying to sound smarter than what I was now. I just go in, I don't even like saying presentation, I just go in and talk. Give them my story, and as I say, it's trying to be relatable to them. It's talking about football, like you mentioned, players you play against, just to grab attention. And then when you start talking about the figures you lost and all that, you can see your eyes going. And but I've got to be honest, it is that I think the day kind of relate to me a bit. And if feedback, that's always brilliant. The one I had there was great, man. I finished about 15 minutes early than normal because I knew there was load, and we just sat and spoke for about 15 minutes. Brilliant.
Love that. And I take it then, can you tell, but if you're like talking to a kid after it and they're asking you questions, do you get an idea that kid might be in a situation where they're kind of getting to a point where they'll need support?
Sometimes you do. Sometimes I leave and I get one's messaging me like here. It's never, I've never ever, I don't think I've ever left a school and had somebody message me saying I'm struggling. Like I've had 2 boys message me saying they're struggling buying like FIFA points and things like that. But I had a boy actually on, what was that, Monday, I was in Castlemilk High School, and there was a boy up the back of the class, and I just knew he was like right into it, listening, and one of the boys was nudging at one point and he was doing that and telling him to stop. So I knew he was listening. I kind of wondered why. And then he came up with me at the end, he was hanging about, and he's like, listen, how do I help somebody that's struggling? And I was like, who is it? And he's like, my mum. I said, my ma, she's struggling bad. I hear her and my dad arguing about it all the time, and then I know that she's spent Christmas money. Your heart breaks, man. You think, boy's 15. You know what I mean? And I was like, listen, if you want, you can pass your mum over and see if she wants to give us a message on a page or something like that. And he got in touch. So you can only do the best you can. I'm not a professional, but I just gave him some advice to pass on. But
it's good though that at that age it's so hard for kids to trust somebody or to talk about these things. It's so good that they can reach out to you, and even like as you were saying, when you put your own stuff out, it's probably a weight off his mind that he's had that conversation with you, and he knows there's kind of options out there too.
Yes, I mean, I've been on that side as well, where that boy is, in the sense that I had my brother when I was younger who really badly struggled with like, alcohol and drugs. So I know what it's like to grow up in a house like that. I know how difficult it is. You're coming into school a lot of the time, and particularly if you were like me, I was really good at hiding it, man. I mean, I would have looked like the happiest guy. I suppose I was actually. I wasn't faking it, but I knew when I went home, I didn't like nighttime. Let's see, when it would creep past 6 and 7 o'clock, I hated it because I knew he was going to come in and start causing chaos. And so I know what it's like to grow up in a house like that. You know, it's difficult.
Definitely.
As most people probably do in kind of West of Scotland, I suppose.
100%, mate. Sky Sports comes along. So I can vividly remember this because I'm working for the house and I've always got it on in the background. And I'm like, fucking hell, that's happening with Gamtalk. How did that happen? So
my big cousin Alan, him and his wife Julia, they had helped me a lot starting, like getting it set up, getting my website and that sorted. And Alan got in touch with me and says, listen, Sky Sports might want to do a bit with you. I know somebody that's there, one of my pals. And my head was in the clouds, man. And I was trying to keep my feet in the ground, but I didn't. But this was in about February or something. So it went on, and I didn't want to be a pure pest. I think I asked him twice. I think I asked him maybe about April and then kind of July, and he's like, I've not heard in. So it did kind of get to a point where I thought it was maybe dead in the water. And then it was actually LinkedIn, and I was going to delete LinkedIn because I don't know how to use it. And whatever, and like kind of got a week before, and they messaged me and said, "Hi, it's Laurie Ann from Sky Sports, and we'd love to do a bit with you, man." And I was like, "Go So they gave me a couple of days to find a team right enough. They're like, could you get a football club for next week? Which is difficult. I was like, right, I'll do my best. I knew I was going to get it some way. There was a guy at Ayr United, fair enough to him. He was going to let us come in on a Friday of next week. Messaged Laurie Ann back. I was like, I've got Ayr United for next Friday, so we'd kind of need Monday. And this is a Thursday afternoon. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do here, man? And it was actually my Ma's save the day. So what about Morton? And weird enough, I'd never thought of Morton, but I know a guy that runs like a community project down there. I was like, listen, this is an opportunity with Sky Sports. Could you help us out? Brian McLaughlin, his name is, great guy. And he phoned me back about half an hour. He's like, that's it, set up. And it had a pure great twist, I suppose, that was a club that I played with when I was a boy, do you know what I mean? So it was like, can I go in back there working with boys that were literally in the same position as me? So I had a nice touch to it, but it was brilliant. The production, everything, the way they set it all up, it's no wonder they're like the best at what they do. You know what I mean?
How was the reaction when it went out?
Oh, mad. It's still going. I really mean that. It's still going. Like I went to a school, St Matthew's Academy, it's down in Ayrshire, about 2 weeks ago. There was a guy in a taxi, like a driver, for the station. They kept doing that and kind of looking at us. And I was like, he thinks I'm going to bump this taxi. And probably looked like one of them guys that's going to bump my taxi. And he's like, you're on Sky Sports, son? And I was like, that's mad. But so it's class. Still get loads of messages for it. The opportunities that have came for it have been good, to be fair, man.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what's your kind of, not so much your kind of high points, but what's your just kind of pinch yourself moments that you've had through it all? Because even in a short time, it's been unreal.
I suppose like working with Celtic inside Parkhead with the foundation's great. Sky Sports one was mad, to be honest, going out and then going down to Arsenal. So I took my dad down to Arsenal. That was the first time he had seen me working as well, and with a club like that. And I suppose that was a kind of moment where I was like, this is good. I'll be honest, I wish I did. I actually wish I felt it a lot more than what I do, but I don't really, I'm not being modest, I just don't feel it that way. People keep saying, oh, Celtic, Rangers, Arsenal and all that. I'm just always, right, what's next? If I've done Arsenal, then it needs to be Man United next. And I always try to kind of think of the next thing. I suppose it'll probably be a year I'll look back and go, that was decent. Do you know what I mean? Within your first kind of year odd.
I know what you mean, but you're in that kind of moment of, you've got this, you've got that one, but now what comes
I'll be honest,
it?
Actually, probably less significant to everybody else, but working with my old school, I loved that day, man. That was brilliant. Come back in there, seeing some of the teachers that, were there at the time. I don't have that usual story people have of like kind of, teachers told me I would amount to nothing. I hear them stories, I'm like, you're talking shite, man. What teacher's going to say to a 4-year you're going to amount to nothing? I had teachers who did believe in me, and I was a pain in the arse. And they used to tell me, if you were screwing up, you could do something. And I met a couple of them when I went back, and they were like, we follow you and so proud of you and all that. And that was a great feeling, man. Come back in there with old school, so hopefully I work with them every year.
Love that. What's the kind of, maybe no one person or one bit that you've had, but what's the kind of best bits of advice that you've had?
Best bits of advice. Somebody told me at the start, sometimes you need to jump off a cliff, then learn how to fly. And that was a good bit of advice, because I think we're all guilty of, like, you try work out exactly what's going to happen before it happens. Like, imagine you looked into a lot of this before you started and things like that as well. And a lot of the time there just isn't a blueprint. I was researching companies like Gamtalk and I couldn't find one that does what I wanted to do. There isn't a blueprint. Sometimes you just need to, jump into it, and then you'll learn on the job. So that was a good one, because I'd put it off for so long because I didn't know if I would be capable of doing it. How do I get skills? I mean, how do you actually get skills? Now I've worked out my own process, whereas it wasn't before. So now I'll, talk to like an MP who will talk to a head education who will then get me skills, and that's my process now, but I didn't know it until I started. That was a good bit of advice. A couple of months ago I worked in St Andrews and St Bride's, and this teacher was sitting up the back, and she'd come up at the end and just grab me in the wrist, and she's like, the reason that you failed at football and the reason you failed at university. And when she was saying it, I thought, it's better be going somewhere good. The reason you failed at football and the reason you failed at university is because at right air is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And
that's good.
It wasn't really a bit of advice, but I thought that was really nice to hear as well. Gave me that kind of confidence, right? I'm doing something right. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose with the kind of, as we were talking about there, the kind of pinch me moments and the high points, but things like that probably reinforce that you're doing what you should be doing. Do you know what I mean? And you're getting like a teacher who's kind of just taking that in and doesn't know you for anybody, but comes up and says that to you.
You get a lot of messages as well, and sometimes I feel kind of guilty in a sense of saying this because I don't mean this in a big headed way, but I get quite a lot of people saying like really nice things, and then sometimes if you're not careful that can lose significance. I do need to look back and go, that was really nice of them to message me and actually say that, and you get things like that. I'm trying to think of some. Edward shared my page one time. About when was that, man? I think that was the tail end of last year, and my group chat was going mental. Not how you get a wee at on WhatsApp, so they were all laughing and that. I'm like, oh, here we go, man. What have I done there? And somebody sent it in. Edward had seen somebody else share it, and he shared it on his page.
That's class.
It was mental, man. So I stuck that right on Twitter.
Absolutely.
They sharing my stuff.
But it's good that you're getting it reinforced at that level because kids look up to
100%.
all the people, do you know what I mean? And if it means more people will then go and follow your page and buy into it, it's...
That's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and kid on that followers ain't important, but I see people who have maybe get, let's say, 80, 100,000 followers and their engagement levels are terrible. I would rather have what I've got now, and it's people who are constantly, whenever I put a post up, they've sent me it and they message me about it, they comment on it, they like it and stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? That's what's important. And people like that get young people involved. That's exactly who I'm trying to target.
And see if you're going between, obviously going into schools, do you find there's a different dynamic for going into a football club, or do you think they're both kind of similar when you're speaking to them?
I suppose a right obvious difference from the start is that academies are going to are, well, just now anyway, I'm hoping to do Hibs ladies after the new year, but right now it's just been boys. Whereas when you go into school, you do need to make sure that it's not football, because although a lot more like young girls are into football and stuff, which is great, you do need to kind of make sure that you're talking to them as well. So when I always say that the reason I think I became addicted to gambling is because there was a gap in my life left behind by football because I didn't make it in it. But then when you're in a school, you need to say that, or I don't need to say, but I do say that, you know, that doesn't need to be just failure in football. That could be maybe you don't get exam results you wanted and you don't get to university that you're meant to get to. So it's just trying to make sure you're trying to tick everybody's box, relate to everybody. I would say young boys in football clubs are actually probably a lot more like responsive to it because what they see in front of them is a direction that they could go if they're not careful. And I'll be honest, like I think you get a perception of them that they can be kind of young, arrogant, cocky boys. But to be honest, everyone I've came across, they all share all my stuff, they follow and they message me all the time and I keep in touch with them. That's what it's about, not just going in doing a presentation and leaving, it's building relationships with them. But I would say that it's probably a wee bit more kind of responsive in the football clubs. Do you get nervous? Still, even like now? When I was getting in the day, man, it's nerve-wracking, but I think that's a great thing. I think you should always be like going into your work. It's a buzz. I mean, I really enjoy going in. I always, the first like kind of minute I start talking, that's the crucial period, man, where you need to get it right. And, if you forget what you're saying, it can just throw you right off. And probably a year ago, I'd have been a lot worse. It would have killed the whole talk. Now I'll just make a joke out of it and start again. But no, you definitely do get nervous.
Never leaves.
Particularly when it's young people, man, they're ruthless.
That's it. That's that. Do you know that's the thing that gives me the fear as well, because you know that one comment could just floor you for like 20 seconds and you've just lost track.
And I'm brutal for swearing. And see, since I started this, before it, my mum's like, you ain't going to him school, you're going to need to stop that swearing. So I did even try just in my normal life, try to cut back on it. But see, if I make a mistake, I'd be like, can I say it? Do you know what I mean? So it's something that I was always aware of. I've not done it yet, but a day will probably come. I'll do it.
Do you think you're obviously seeing it from the side of, you're in delivering this now to football clubs. You were once that player in one of these football clubs. Obviously they're getting better with different support and different things coming in for kids, but do you think taking yourself back to that age group, that would have helped you? Having somebody like you coming in and talking about their experiences and their journey?
100%. I mean, for a couple of different reasons, like from the football side of things, whenever anybody spoke to us, I was a sponge. I knew it, and I say it all the time, but I was never that great at football. Hard work got me to near enough where I got to. And if somebody came in and told us about, you know, your diet before the game, I'd have listened. When people come in and told us how important it was to do a cool down after football, I would be the only one doing it. I would stretch probably a 4 games after games. Anything that gave me that extra wee percentage. So somebody come in and says, listen, your football career could be derailed by gambling, then I wouldn't have did it. And then on the other side of things, just from a kind of life perspective, I've never touched a drug in my life. I never will. And that's because I'm a big brother. Because I've seen what it did to him. And I've just made a decision from when I was young. And it was difficult, do you know what I mean? You get people who almost don't like you when you're out because they'll offer you stuff and you say no. And I've had that conversation in toilets with people, you think you're better than people. Do you know what I mean?
How do you cope with that? Like when you have got that kind of challenge for folk?
I think it's just being your own person, man. I could have crumbled plenty of times, particularly when you're in, like, when you get that age of like kind of 19, you're hanging about with guys that are maybe 25, 26. And I had that conversation in a kitchen one time where somebody's like, how do you think you're better than people? And if you don't want it, fucking leave. And I'm like, look, I don't think I'm better than anybody. It's just not for me. I'm not going to go into him and tell him about my brother in the middle of a party, so to speak. But you've just got to be your own person, man. You've just got to fucking be brave enough to know it's not for you. So I think if somebody would have told me, listen, your life can be really like harmed by gambling, then I would have, I'm not saying I would have definitely avoided it, but I would have at least took note. Whereas I genuinely had never in my life been told gambling can get out of hand. I used to see people come out of bookies and just think, it must be fun in there. Maybe win a wee bit of money. I didn't ever think anybody was coming out there miserable. But I knew about a pub. I knew some people could come out there and they'd be alcoholics and it. So I think it would have definitely helped me.
And the thing is, as you say as well, like, see with like the FIFA points and stuff like that, you probably wouldn't ordinarily think it, but it's things that you could be spending 15, 20, 30 quid but without even blinking.
I mean, again, I don't want to sound too smart, but my definition, I try sound too smart, I'm not too smart, but my definition, I think, of gambling is risking something in order to gain reward. And with FIFA points, you are risking money to try to get Messi or Ronaldo. And when you don't get Messi or Ronaldo, you're then spending more and more and more money. So what I say to like the boys and the girls as well in the schools is, I'm not telling you not to play FIFA, and I'm not even telling you not to buy these packs, but what I would do is set a budget every month. Let's say it's £40. And if you keep finding yourself trickling over £40 each month or going over it, then you've maybe got an addictive personality, and it's maybe when you get to a point where you're gambling, it's the same principle. Set a budget for the bookies and try and make sure you stick within it. I think it's something that I think it already is to an extent getting kind of at least looked at and cracked down on a wee bit, all these FIFA points and the games and stuff, because I think it is my brother texts me the other day actually and says that my nephew had just downloaded a wee game. I think he's playing pool, but you can you're essentially gambling, opening these boxes and spinning wheels to get money to play, and then you can pay $1.99 to get more coins and all that. And he's like, look how great this is. And obviously my older brother Stephen's like, you fucking stay away.
I suppose that's how we can start.
Definitely, mate. Get started.
Jesus, man, that's crazy. Obviously you're new in Gamtalk as a business for you. Based on obviously everything you've been through to where you're at just now, what advice would you give to somebody that's maybe thinking about starting a business up? Could be in any industry, but it might be something kind of similar to what you're doing. What would you say to them based on your own experience?
I would say that you need to believe in yourself. Like, I know that sounds a bit kind of cliche, but if I'd have told people months ago or a year ago that I was going to work with Arsenal, Sky Sports and things like that, I mean, people would have laughed at me, not in a bad way, but just because it sounds unrealistic. I always think you could have a million people run about you believing in you. If you don't believe in yourself, it's absolutely useless. You need to. I was the only person that probably thought I could do what I was going to do, and that's vitally important, because there will be tough times where, like when I opened that diary and I had nothing and nobody was answering my emails. No lie, if I didn't come up with that idea of sleeping on the streets, this would all probably have been done by now. And I just had to believe myself that, right, keep working hard, working smart as well, making the right decisions, and something will click for you. And being yourself, man. My mum used to say that to me all the time, and I used to be like, what does that even mean? Like, be yourself. But now I look back on it and I think it's an amazing piece of advice, because I go in and I be myself. I don't wear a shirt and tie when I go in, even though some people have kind of criticised that. I don't talk differently. I just be myself, and it's worked perfect in the sense that young people feel they can relate to me. They message me later on, they share all my stuff. I think they like me to a point, whereas if I went in and try to act too professional, people will spot authenticity. I think people will spot when you're just a bullshitter. And that would be my advice, to be yourself and believe in yourself.
Love that. And I know you were saying there about the diary and that, and you had points where you were kind of, after you done the sleep on the street, etc., was there a kind of a turning point for you where in your own head you're like, this is going to work now, like I'm all into this?
There's been highs and there's been lows, definitely. I think what people probably think with Gamtalk, because it's been a relatively small period of time, they must think I've just went strength to strength to strength. It hasn't been like that at all. That's what you see from the outside. I see the every day, every hour type thing. When I thought it probably had something was when the schools opened back up and I had like kind of 2 and 3 offers to go in, because I knew that's all I needed. I will go in, I'll work as hard as I can, I'll be good at my job, I suppose, get good reviews. And then I always knew that it's St Stephen's and the Port High are literally in the same building but next door to each other. You're saying if St Stephen's are doing it, then you might have parents of Port High saying, well, why are we not getting that? Why are you not protecting your pupils against it? And I always knew that would work. So once I get my first 2 and 3, once I get Dundee United as well, I knew that if people know I'm working with big football clubs, then they'll give me a chance. It took a bit, but it took some time. I was getting no money for ages, nothing coming in, like even to cover my costs and that. And I come up with the idea for a subscription so people can pay monthly to support like work to get to schools and things like that. And
so how can they do that then if you've got people that are listening that kind of want to?
So the link's just always in the bio on like Instagram. You can go and support it. They start at literally 99 pence a month up to $9.99 for that group thing, and it's supporting like a new kind of workshops I'm trying to build up, travel places. I've not knocked back a club yet or a charity group yet. I'll go and do anything, even if I'm not getting paid, even if it cost me. I think in the long run, people will look back and think, right, well, do you know what? He did what he said he was going to do. I want to build a business, but also I'm going to try and make as big an impact as I possibly can. And it's that money that supports them type of ones. And that saved me, man. That kept me going. Otherwise, again, it would have just went under. I just ran out of money.
And have you had a lot of people supporting you through that?
To be fair, man. I expected a bit, and it just completely surpassed that again. And that's why I say, like, people say, is there any kind of negative sides to it? There's been lows with Gamtalk, but in terms of like public response to it, I can't have any faults at all. I've been extremely lucky where everybody supported it brilliantly.
And I suppose with all the lows, you're still here. You're still getting asked to go to schools and do different things. So
I think your lows have probably been more so in a sense of like, what you want me to say that? Like, I think in terms of like having an empty diary and things, that's part of business. That's going to happen. You're not going to start and be booming. I had a boy in June, she messaged me and said that he was in hospital. And I looked back on the messages and I seen that we had spoke before. And so I read back and tried to get a week, and I was like, right, what's been happening? So he had tried to jump off a bridge at Kincardine. Police grabbed him and he was in hospital and that. And I was like, right, I'm so sorry that, I haven't kept in touch. And I was like, right, so does your girlfriend know? Because I knew he had a girlfriend for the last mess. She left us a month ago. I was like, right, well, these things happen, man. Just get yourself out, tell your work that you'll not be back for a bit. He's like, I've been sacked. And it just, as he kept going on, I was like, fuck, I realise this boy's life's fell apart.
He's in a bad way.
And he had messaged me afore, and that flared me, man. I'd never say that, but I absolutely flared me. Like, I was in my bed for 2 days. I felt so fucking, I felt like, how dare I be out posting that I'm working with these big clubs and all that, and I forgot about somebody.
Aye.
But there's just that many to keep up on. Like some people come up with me in the street, and not so much in the street, maybe in the gym or in a shop or something. But I'm Mark, a guy Messi and Gamtalk, but there's 5 Marks, and I'm Christopher. There's 6 of them as well. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
There's just that many people to keep up with. But I thought, right, I need to get a better system in place with that. So after that, boy, I went and met him a couple of weeks later. Let him just recoup with his family. Went and met him. Thankfully, I think he's doing kind of a lot better now. But I wrote everybody's name down and a wee bit about them. So if anybody messages now, I look through and scan it, and then I see it. And that's part of it, that at the end of the day, you don't get paid for, you don't get recognition that fun, but that's why I set it up.
Aye.
I mean, because I was that person before.
Aye. And how do you, obviously you must get a lot of positive things through, but you'll get situations like that probably jolt memories for you, but how do you pick yourself up? Because they're obviously then throwing everything onto you, that they're going through, and as you said there, like you end up just kind of out the game for a day or two, but how do you get yourself back into that kind of...
That time was, if that was the closest I've been to feeling when I was gambling.
Aye.
I was really, I don't know, I mean, I know it was obviously a bad situation, but I don't know why that one really got me as much, but it did anyway. And I was just lying there and I thought to myself, 2 things. One, my mum was starting to ask questions, why you not up? Why is that light not been on in 2 days? And I was like, right, I need to get out of my bed so she doesn't think that I'm really struggling, because that's the last thing I want for her to be worrying again. And also I thought, I'm going to solve fucking nothing by lying in this bed. I need to get up and just, kick on a bit. But it was difficult, man.
No, I can imagine, mate. As I'd said to you, obviously I got a couple of questions in for listeners, which I always do. I got one in for a couple of guys messaged this actually, and it was more around they're in the kind of recovery stages of trying to get away from that gambling addiction, and you've come through that, and is there any kind of support points that you would recommend or that really helped you on that journey?
I would always recommend that somebody speaks to a specialist and that type of thing, and try get to the root of the problem. I think there's a lot of things like apps you can download that, you know, stop the software coming on your phone, which are great, but then you can go on your iPad or you can go to casino or bookies. I think there's not enough blocks you can put in place. You need to get out of the problem. Mine was insecurity by not, I don't know if insecurity is the right word. Mine was disappointment at not making it as a professional footballer. And I didn't ever realise that until I'd spoke to somebody about it, and you know, they said that will probably have impacted you a lot more than what you think. And I actually went to Parkway, which is like a local kind of bit where I used to train. One night, just drove down Thursday night. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I was on my own, and I just took a wee walk round, and I was just grating my eyes out. And then I went back to the car, and I felt a million times better that I'd just kind of addressed that problem. And I thought to myself, do you know what? Before then, I was always miserable. I hated anybody else in the area. This is terrible. I hated anybody else in the area doing well at football, because I didn't do it. If I seen somebody out running, and say if somebody would pass a comment, that's good, that boy's out running, but fuck him. You know, I used to do it.
Just because of the football.
And then I got to a point after that night, I was like, do you know what? I was never good enough to make it as a professional footballer, and I nearly got there. Just be proud of it. Be proud of how hard I worked. So that's addressing that problem. I always think as well, my own opinion, I don't know how true this is, you need to replace it with something else. I mean, look at football in my life, it got replaced by gambling, and then it almost flipped back in its head. My pal started a wee Saturday morning team, and honestly, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have got back into football, and I don't think I'd ever got over it. And you need to find something that you love doing as well. And then Gamtalk thankfully came along, and I think I've got these things in place where I love getting up every day, working on Gamtalk. I love going to football during the week and playing again, that I don't even think of gambling anymore. You need to replace it with something.
And that's what I was going to ask you as well. Obviously, there's so many kids and kind of young adults that fall out of that football system because it is 0.1% or something that makes it. Do you find that vital from that point of view of it's got to be something worthwhile that fills that gap for you when you kind of step away from it?
Definitely. You need to find something that you love doing or that you're at least really interested in. Or I always think the absolute perfect recipe for somebody to become addicted to something is somebody who gets up, their alarm goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning and they want to kill themselves when that alarm goes off. And Sunday night, they're absolutely dreading Monday coming. They go to work because Monday to Friday is basically about work, home, eat, you maybe get an hour to yourself
Aye.
and then you get your bed. It's a large part of your week and a large part of your life.
Aye.
And a lot of people then live for a Saturday night. You live for one night a week where you just go out and get pissed to forget about a week, and you repeat that cycle. That sounds to me like the absolute perfect recipe for just becoming addicted to something, seeking a comfort blanket. I know it's difficult. I don't like to be one of these people that sit here and say, like, try preach as if you need to find something you love doing for your work and that. But if you're absolutely miserable in your job, then I think there's always something better for you. There's always something you can go and find to, even if the money's not as good, it's better. You don't want to kill yourself when that alarm goes off. And that's the same with football as well. Like when people get released, there's that like initial utter disappointment, but then you need to get back in. I mean, you never know. When I get released, I look back now and I think I get released at 17. Why on earth did I think that was it done? I should just get back in. I had different trials at like Clyde and Airdrie and things like that. But even if I didn't go to M, I just started playing again. I was good enough one day to play. I could have went back to it. Just keep playing would be my advice to young footballers, isn't it?
Brilliant. And I'd got, as I said to you, I got a mum that had messaged, and she's got two 16-year-old boys, and what she'd said was, obviously based on your experience of going into schools and speaking to kids and things, is there any kind of early signs that as a parent she should be looking out for at that age group, and kind of you start to get accustomed to like apps and things like that, and different things and different vices get put in front of you? Is there any kind of warning signs that you would look out for?
I'll give you what my mum thinking. I met my big cousin just yesterday after our school in Glasgow, and we were talking, and she's like, I remember I met your mum when I was 18 at the time, and my mum broke down greeting to her, and she said something's wrong with Paul. Like, I don't know what it is, but he's just changing as a person. Can you try find out, is he like taking drugs and things like that? And that's what she probably initially thought it was. So I think if you're spotting a change in somebody, then probably for a reason, and any most obvious ones when it's related to gambling is money. You know, if you've got an idea, roughly say how much they make or whatever, and you know that they're always skint, they're borrowing money, then I would put two and two together. Are they kind of miserable? Do you know they gamble? Are they always needing money? There's a likelihood that there's something going on there, definitely, particularly among young guys. I mean, I know it fits my narrative to say this, but the amount of young guys I get that message that have got a problem, people in my area I had no clue about either, and it's mental in society now, man. It's off a scale.
And do you think a lot of it is down to kind of just kind of male insecurities that kind of pushes a lot of people into it at that age group?
I think both. I think like it's such a massive part of society now, and I'd say, I don't know, percentage wise, 90% of guys in this country grow up liking football. It's bombarded in football, innit? You can't watch a game at a weekend and it's no adverts before, during, after it. Two biggest clubs in the country have got Daffabet and is it Unibet or 32 Red splashed on their taps. I came out of Glasgow Central there, and I was going to take a picture of it. I'll get one on the way back. There's outside Glasgow Central, there's a William Hill next door to a Ladbrokes, next door I think to a Paddy Power, with a Paddy Power in the corner. There's a Ladbrokes here when you're looking in front of it, and then to your left there's a Ladbrokes there and all. And some people, if you weren't aware of gambling, think, well, that's stupid, them shops will be full. They will be. It's everywhere, you can't escape it.
And you see it like, even on Instagram, you'll flick through and you'll get people that will put up a coupon that's won. And then obviously people will see that and go, oh, fuck's sake, but they don't show you the 10 that's no, do you know what I mean? It's such a false kind of pretense. I seen one the other day, and I never like to be a killjoy. I think your boy won $4,000 and he put it on Twitter. It was a six-fold, and he put £50 on it and won $4,000. And I know, man, if you're putting £50 on a six-fold, that you're scraping your money back, if anything. I'm still doing. It's a massive amount of money to be putting on that. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's such a big part of society, and as well, man, if people ain't making enough money, and if you get to the end of the month, and this time of year is horrendous, like if you've got a deficit of £100, £200 and you can't borrow any more money, or you don't know somebody to borrow it from and the bank won't give you it, then what's your alternative? Try one if it become. No, totally get you, mate. Obviously, looking at the future, what's the hopes and the plans for Gamtalk?
For Gamtalk, just to continue building, to work with as many football clubs as I possibly can. Right now, I'm just going in and doing talks. I've got workshops set up and that as soon as all the COVID stuff is away for good, I'll be able to go in and do, like, I'm hoping to do like days in a school where I'm literally the whole day, and we've got stations they can go around and a full day event like that. I've got ASACC booked for a start of 2023 where there's going to be like 30 different high schools can all turn up. It'll be a full day thing, different speakers there and something like that. So I'm really looking forward to that, man. And then just in a kind of offset thing, I've got an app being built just now. So a lassie I know in my area, she's an app developer. Spoke with her for a couple of months and we're getting an app built. So it's called Mental.
Okay.
So it's not gambling related. It's like kind of more fitness, mental health, journaling. And the idea behind it is you go on each day. You see people who you've probably got on Instagram and Snapchat and every day they take a picture in the gym. You think, fuck off, mate. You know what I mean? We don't need to see that every day. This is where you can go on and that's literally what it's for. But it's not for just gym people. Somebody going out a walk with their dog. Somebody, you know, it benefits the exercise on mental health are well documented. But journaling as well is a great one that I think not a lot of people, I mean, well, I know even the 2 groups I did a day in school, I said, how many people exercise? Every hand went up. How many people, you know, just write down how they're feeling at the end of the day? 0 in both groups. I can't go to my bed without writing at the end of my diary. So I fill out and then at the end I just say how the day went. Good, bad, in between. I feel my brain is cluttered until I get that done. And I think it's a great way to just keep a bit of focus and good for the well-being. So that's what our app's about. Should hopefully be ready for kind of maybe a bit of start of spring when I've got some like kind of really good people who are going to be ambassadors for it and getting behind it. Got a lot of footballers and then some lassies that are really kind of big on YouTube and their Instagram and that. So I'm really looking forward to that, man.
Big couple of years coming up.
Aye, mate, I'm looking forward to it, man. I need to be kept busy, do you know what I mean? If I'm not, my head's everywhere and I'm looking forward to it.
Love that, mate. It's been brilliant to talk to you. Like, it's been good to see, obviously, how much goes into Gamtalk and how much has went into prepping it. Because yeah, I've probably seen it on Instagram and thought he started that the last month or two, but it's been years, and it's good that you tried it and it didn't happen and then you've took it away, come back again, still get knocks while trying it, but pressed on, obviously done the sleeping on the street thing, which 99% of people would never even think today. And it's worked, and obviously everything that's come in off the back of that, and I'd imagine there's obviously a lot of kids out there that are in a better space because of something you've maybe said and they've no said it to you, but they've went home that night thinking, fucking hell, man. Like,
that's it. Just give them a positive message they can take through their whole life. Just, I don't want anybody to envy me by any means, just like learn from me. But when you get to a point where you're maybe starting to ask a question or things getting out of hand with any aspect of your life, then you'll remember, I come in and look at shit show my life became because I never asked for a bit of help. Too much ego, too much pride. And the need for it, man, that's a thing past now. And in terms of like Gamtalk in general, that was 4 years ago that I tried to go in and get to schools in Inverclyde and it didn't work, and that was just before August there. I had the same meeting with the same guy, and now I've got all schools in Inverclyde, 6 of them. So just don't give up on it, man.
Persistence pays off.
Definitely.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Pleasure, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.